that we were close, and I do believe that, it only takes one. This NFL season is very fickle already in 2020, and I just know in the regular NFL season that it always has been said that the league changes every 2 weeks. So, no matter how good you feel about your team, no matter how bad you feel about your team, it'll be a different story every 2 weeks. Coach said it best. We are a good enough team to be better than what our record kind of displays.
A lot of positivity coming out of Cam Newton this season. I like it. Brian Westbrook joins us now. Brian, good morning. I'm going to start with you. Is this 4-5 Patriots team a playoff caliber team?
Jenna, good morning. Absolutely not. They are not a playoff caliber team. I think they're an average football team. And with average football teams, a lot of things have to play into their favor. Almost everything has to play into their favor because the margin of error is so small. Just think about the Ravens game. First of all, the weather. That monsoon certainly hurt the Ravens. Ball handling was an issue for Lamar Jackson in the backfield. Catching the football because it was wet was an issue for the receivers. So the weather played into the Patriots' hand because they wanted to run the football, and they were able to do that successfully. The other thing that played into their hand were injuries. Calais Campbell was out. L.J. Fort, the linebacker, was out, as well as Jimmy Smith. Three of the guys that are the core of their defense were out. They were able to run the ball up and down the field against the Ravens all game long. And then the turnovers. The biggest issue for the Patriots all season long has been turnovers. When they lose football games, they turn the ball over multiple times. Can they operate in a situation all for the rest of the season where they get all those things that are falling into their favor? I don't think so. And because of that, I think they'll continue to be average for the rest of the season.
I agree with you, B. Look, this team is disjointed. When you look at Coach Belichick, he's finally getting out of his rut. He wasn't doing a great job as a coach. Now he's back in the rhythm. When you have a Hall of Fame coach, and you potentially have two, because I really believe Josh McDaniels can go down as probably the greatest offensive coordinator of all time. Those guys can get you a couple wins. You look at what they did last week, Coach Belichick. It was genius how they disrupted Lamar Jackson, that running game. They took that front seven, they gave him a different look, putting guys in different gaps. It was brilliant. That was classic Bill Belichick. But then when you look at Bill Belichick, the general manager, and this is the reason why I don't think they're a good team, is he didn't do a good job of adding depth. They have no players. So when you look at Cam Newton, where's the tight ends you're throwing to? Where's the receiver on 3rd and 2 and 3? Who can you rely on to beat man-to-man coverage? Who can you throw the ball up and say, this is a 50-50 ball, and I know this guy's going to come down with it 80-90% of the time. It just doesn't exist on that roster. So for that reason, this team is disjointed, and they don't have a chance. Pre-COVID, they were doing a great job, right? And then once COVID-19 hit their locker room, everything just imploded.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you guys. I totally agree. They're old, they're disjointed, they're not really scary at all. I think you're spot on. And Brian, the rain, you made a good point about the rain because the Ravens had to play in the rain, but when the Patriots had the ball, it was totally sunny. So I thought that was a fair point as well. It reminds me a little bit of like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's old. Mike Tyson doesn't look like the Mike Tyson of old. He's a below-average fighter, probably. Does anybody want to fight him? Would you feel good about, hey, it's Tyson Fury versus Mike Tyson? Do you think Tyson? Or would you be a little bit scared? Would you be a little bit nervous? You're like, ooh, I know he's supposed to be old. I know he's supposed to be washed. But it feels like this team has still got a little something. Maybe because they're the third best rushing offense, running for 160 yards. Or I don't know, maybe because J.C. Jackson's got 5 games with an interception. And Brian, to your point, this one's not sarcastic. You are right that we used to turn the ball over. We turned the ball over like 20% of our plays would end in a turnover. Possessions. Sorry. I get so excited talking about the Patriots. 20% of the possessions would end in turnover. Last 2 games, 0 turnovers. And here's the other good thing that no one's talking about. Patriots are on pace to be penalized the least of any team ever. So I think Belichick recognizes what you said, Brian. Like, we can't make any mistakes. We're not as deep with talent as we used to be. But, Nick, I still think we're very Tyson-esque. We look old and washed and not that good, but also have a good chance of knocking you out.
So I think that is right, which is why the Patriots can play spoiler, but it doesn't mean they can make the playoffs. I do think they are right now more dangerous than most 4 and 5 teams, and I think they're more dangerous than some 5 and even maybe 1 or 2 6-win teams in the league. I do believe that, but I think right now it's a race against the clock record-wise, and it's not in their favor. Everyone's going to point to the Seattle 1-yard loss and the loss to Buffalo when Cam fumbled. Those aren't the losses they should be looking at. It's the game against Denver. That's the game that at the end of the year, if the Patriots finish 1 game out of the postseason, you're going to say, really? Drew Lock in a game where he had a passer rating of 40 and threw 2 picks, we couldn't muster 20 points to beat Denver. So I do think the Patriots are a dangerous team right now. And I think that win against the Ravens made the players in that locker room believe they can beat anybody. And you guys know I don't believe in Buffalo. But all of a sudden, that stretch where they go Cardinals, Chargers, Rams is a hell of a lot harder than I thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year. And for that reason, Brian, I just think it's going to be hard for them to get to the 10 wins they're going to need to make the playoffs and win that division.
Nick, you're absolutely right. When you talk about the Buffalo Bills, you talk about the Miami Dolphins. I think those are 2 teams that are leading in the standings, but I think those are 2 games that will be very tough for the Patriots. I also got to put this in context as far as the win against the Ravens. The Ravens are a team that is kind of weird. They're not the same defensive team that they were last year. Offensively, they're not the same offensive team. And so as the Patriots get credit for winning that game and winning 2 in a row, one of those games were against the Jets and beating the Ravens, I'm not sure that you should get the same amount of credit as when you're thinking of the Ravens team of the past, because they're a different team at this point than they were last year. The other thing is this, and you mentioned it, Nick, they got the Cardinals, Rams, Miami, and the Bills left on their schedule. Those are 4 tough games that they're going to have to win in order for them to make it into the playoffs. I just don't see the Patriots doing it, unfortunately, Kevin.
Well, you mentioned Miami, one of the games on that list. Miami's tough. Let's play a little draw in a blank. They're tough because Tua Tagovailoa is off to a perfect 3-0 start down there. And he dropped this gem of a quote yesterday on his transition to NFL football. He said, quote, "I expected it to be a lot harder. Not that it's not hard." So, Brian, Tua saying he expected the transition to the NFL to be a lot harder is blank.
Well, Jenna, this is rookie talk. I mean, this is rookie when you come out and you're 3-0 your first 3 games that you start, and your defense is making plays and your special teams is making plays, and offensively there's not very much pressure on you. This is absolutely what rookies say. This is a thing that I know after being in the league for 9 years, is that the more film you put out there, the more tape you put out there, defenses start to understand the things you do bad or poorly, and they force you to do those things. As Tua plays more games, defense will start to understand what exactly he does bad, and they'll force him to do that. And he may not get the same type of plays from the special team and the defense going forward. That's going to put a little bit more pressure on him and make things a lot harder.
Hey, B, it may be rookie talk, but it's kind of true. In Miami, you have your quarterback. If you're a Miami Dolphin fan, you should absolutely love hearing this coming from Tua. This is amazing. This kid hasn't even hit his stride yet, and he's out there. He's under center. He's like, oh, my goodness. I thought everybody was going to be a Pro Bowler. I thought all these guys were going to be fast. Because the reality is, yes, it's hard. You're one of the, 1% that make it, or less than that. There's less than 2,000 guys that make it to the NFL, so it's extremely hard. But, B, come on, man. You know this. Sometimes you take that feel and you be like, that guy, that's who I'm going against? He made it? So, Tua, I love it. I love it because it's true. And then I also love it because of your confidence.